My name is Andy Gustafson, and I will be the zoning administrator for this meeting. Um, we have a couple of people here in attendance who make this meeting happen. I want to acknowledge the recording secretary who will, as we go through the meeting, play the important role of recognizing individuals as questions come up, and will also be granting rights for our participants, the project planner and the applicants when they give their presentation. This is a public hearing and is conducted online so that we can help to contain the COVID-19 pandemic spread within the community. All aspects of this meeting will be conducted in the same manner. Today's meeting, we have an agenda, which we will go through the items, and at the conclusion of each item, an action will be taken. I want to announce now, for those of you who might be attending, there was a request for a public hearing on item 3.3 on the agenda, which concerns a minor hillside development permit at 2808 Canyonside Drive. That requested public hearing will cause this item to be taken off this agenda. It will not be discussed today. The matter will be noticed and will be scheduled and re-noticed for another zoning administrator meeting. You will receive, those of you who have attended and received notices, you will receive a mailed notice. There will be a newspaper notice and a sign posted on the property. There will be no discussion or testimony taken on that matter. So that reduces our 3-item agenda to 2. Any action taken on those 2 items today can be appealed, and the appeal date is 10 days from this public hearing, or the first day that follows 10 calendar days, or business days, I should say. And today is the 16th, and if I am able to find my calendar, the deadline for an appeal of a decision taken today will be Monday, the 27th of July. I'll repeat that deadline after each of the items. I will just briefly mention now that as we go through the presentations by the planner and also by the applicant, I request that you not raise your hand with your questions. You wait until I open the meeting for public comment. And at that point, if you raise your hand, for those of you who are on Zoom and can see this presentation, you do so by clicking the raise your hand symbol or function on Zoom. If those of you who might be calling in on telephone and who are listening, you too can participate and comment, but you will have to press *9 and the host will recognize you also. When we ask that you unmute your microphone when you are recognized, when it is your turn to ask a question, and that way we will be able to hear you. Also, we ask that if you've heard your question stated previously, that you not repeat it, but simply endorse it, so as to allow us to move efficiently through the meeting. Your comment will be addressed or noted. So with that, I want to go to the first item on the agenda, which is an opportunity for public comment. And for those of you in attendance who wish to comment on a matter that is not on the agenda, including the one that was just continued, you may do so now. And this is an opportunity for you to raise your hand if you wish to comment on a matter not on the agenda. I'm able to see the attendee list, and recording secretary, I think none of the attendees have raised their hand wishing to make public comment at this time. So I will now move on excuse me, to the first item on our agenda, which is a conditional use permit for 468 Yolanda Avenue, Suite 801, Santa Rosa. And the project planner is Kristen A. Tumans. So Ms. Tumans, if you can give your staff presentation, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gustafson. This is Kristen A. Tumans, Senior Planner. This is a project file number CUP 19-002. And it's a request of the zoning administrator to approve a minor use permit to allow a light manufacturing facility for the cultivation of cannabis within 2,850 square feet of an existing industrial building located at 468 Yolanda Avenue, Suite 801. And I'd like to share the plans if I could. I'm not sure if I share the screen or the host will share the screen.
I have it available if you need me to pull it up.
I think I have them as well. So let me pull, I'll do it. Let's see. Here we go. So this is the plan set for the proposed project. The majority of Yolanda Avenue is zoned light industrial, particularly that southern portion of Yolanda Avenue. Here's a close-up view of the campus, where there are several buildings and businesses that operate on the site. And there's an oblique aerial view of the building, and you can see the proposed suite is identified as the end unit at 801, Suite 801. Here's some neighborhood context as to what types of uses are present surrounding the property. There's a single family neighborhood. Sorry, go ahead.
If I might interrupt, I am not seeing your shared screen. Is it my operator error or do we not have that on the screen for everyone to see?
I can see it.
Oh.
Okay, that's me then.
Should I try resharing?
Well, if Kimberly, recording secretary, sees it, then I will work to make myself able to see it while you do your presentation, please.
Okay. So in this,
I do have a copy.
Okay, of the plans. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So as you can see, on three sides there are light industrial uses. There is a single family neighborhood directly to the south. And that necessitated elevating this to a minor use permit. Here you can see a site plan showing the suite. And they plan on occupying suite Suite 801. The exterior improvements are limited to just ADA compliance, so ADA upgrades, and new exterior lighting that will be shielded so that it doesn't glare beyond the property lines. Those are the parking spaces that would be assigned to this business by the landlord. The project has sufficient parking spaces for the campus and the all the uses that are there. Here's the floor plan. Shows cultivation rooms, their secure office, and their secure loading and unloading area. This is the second floor plan. Here is a photograph of the exterior of the building. There really are no exterior modifications other than accessible path of travel, handicap space, and perhaps some exterior lighting for security reasons. The applicant has also provided a odor mitigation plan, and they have submitted a project narrative that meets the city's requirements for cannabis uses. With that, the planning staff recommends approval of the applicant's request for light manufacturing facility for the cultivation of cannabis at this location. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much, Ms. Toomans. I just want to confirm or acknowledge that the application packet that is presented and the resolution conditions of approval include a variety of things like a security plan, odor mitigation plan, and such. Can you verify that for me, for us?
Yes, so there is sort of a catch-all condition. It says compliance with all applicable operational provisions of Chapter 20-46 of the zoning code is required. And that would include the items that you mentioned.
Right. Okay, thank you. All right, at this time, if you can stop sharing your screen, we will now give opportunity for the applicant or the applicant's team to present any additional information or wish to comment further based on the project planner's presentation. So recording secretary, if you could allow audio access for them, I would appreciate it.
So if you're want a part of the applicant team for this item, and you could raise your hand, please. You'll see the ability to raise your hand. There you go. And you're going to receive a prompt. Go ahead and answer the prompt. And you should be all set.
Hello. Can you hear me?
You're very clear. Thank you.
So at this time, I don't really have anything to add. I'm happy to answer any questions. Kristine's presentation, I think, was thorough and we're compliant at this time.
Thank you very much. I have no questions for you. Why don't we now, at this time, turn to the public hearing or comment period of this item. And with that, I will ask that any of you in attendance who wish to speak, if you're on Zoom, to use the raise your hand function, or those of you who might be on the telephone, and I don't see any, that you press *9 on your phone and we'll recognize you. And again, remember that when the hearing recording secretary acknowledges you, you'll get a prompt. You'll need to unmute your microphone. Thank you. Recording secretary, at this time, I do not see any attendees wishing to comment. So I think we can close the public discussion on this matter and the hearing, and I can now turn to the application and ask if there are questions of the applicant and their team or the project planner. And I want to get in front of me. Unfortunately, I was not able to benefit from the screen share, but I did download the files in advance of the meeting, so I can look at those now. And I think the site plan is pretty clear in terms of the location of the facility, its proximity with the residential uses to the south, which triggered the need for this hearing. I asked the question of the project planner about mitigation for noise and odor, and her response essentially is that that is a standard general requirement. And in reviewing the application, I can see that the plans really fulfill the best practices that have been implemented in many facilities just like this one, and have become accepted as being effective in dealing with probably the two most important potential effects that a cannabis cultivation facility might have nearby in a residential area, meaning the noise and odor. Security in this facility is also addressed, and I'm confident that this applicant, this operator, will be very motivated to keep that place working well, not only in terms of secure access, but the operation of its ventilation, air circulation systems, not to create noise or odor. This project is subject to, have the resolution here, a number of findings for a use permit. The key is there that it is appropriate in size and operation for its location. And the finding does make affirms that, as well as shows that the project as conditioned with the operation plans that have been submitted will not constitute a nuisance or be injurious or detrimental to the public interest, welfare, convenience of people living nearby or the community at large. So I think this is a pretty straightforward and clean project proposal, falls foursquare with our cannabis cultivation requirements. And based on that, I will approve the requested minor conditional use permit as recommended by staff, subject to the conditions of approval. So this matter may be appealed by any aggrieved party. I think it was July 27th, Monday, was the appeal for deadline. And with that, this item is concluded. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let's see, now we go on to item 3.2, which is a minor design review for 3950 Doubles Drive, Santa Rosa, and the project planner. But this is a, the project planner is Miss Sikali. Would you please, recording secretary, give Miss Sikali a audio and screen sharing capacity so she can present her report. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Gustafson. So can you see my screen right now?
I cannot, and I think I'm having technical difficulties on my end, but I downloaded your packet so that I have them available here should this occur. I do ask that you come closer to your microphone or increase the volume because your voice is faint.
Okay, sure. So good morning, Mr. Gustafson. As you mentioned, the project before you today is a minor design review for modification to an existing,
Perfect.
Okay, great. Modification to an existing cell tower. The site is located at 3950 Doubles Drive. So the proposal is to remove 6 existing RRUs, which stands for remote radio units, from inside the steeple and relocate them to the side of the steeple and screen them with the new box. The box will be same color and same material as the existing building, And also they will install a chain link over an existing equipment area. I'm gonna show you, here is the site, where the site is located. The zone for this property is PD 95-001, which stands for planned development, and the general plan is low density residential. In 2015, there was a use permit and design review to install cell towers inside of the steeple and got approved. And to date, there are some minor modification to that cell tower. So on the upper side, we had the existing east elevation, and the lower elevation is showing where are the new addition or changes. Here is the location where the exterior addition will take place, and here is where they will place a chain link over existing area. So that will prevent from people, uninvited people, to get into that area. And here is the illustration showing how the new addition will look. It's going to be a same color and same material as the existing building. Here showing location of the chain link fence above the existing equipment area. I sent a notice to neighbors within 600 feet. I have received one email from Richard Estred. He was in favor and supporting the project. And I received an email from Melinda. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing her last name correctly, but it was Melinda Gimbroni, and her address, she lives at 945 Doubles Drive, and she was against the cell tower. And in my email, I told her that the cell tower is existing. The applicant is not proposing a new cell tower. They are just removing those 6 RRUs from inside the steeple to exterior. The project has been reviewed in compliance with California Environmental Quality Act, and it qualifies for exemption 15301 class 1, in that the proposed project is minor alteration or modification to an existing structure. With that, it is the Planning and Economic Development Department recommends that the zoning administrator by resolution approve a minor design review permit for the property located at 3950 Doubles Drive. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Zuccali. Just to clarify for me, I didn't have the benefit of your, I assume, pointing out these different changes that are proposed today on the building. I do have the elevation drawing showing its sheet, moment here. It is sheet A5, excuse me, which depicts the west elevations on the building. So I see on the new west elevation, there's a box or some type of, is that that's the new array that's going to be placed on the building on the exterior, and the existing steeple will continue to house within it Verizon wireless antennas. Is that correct?
The wireless antennas are inside of the steeple, correct? And it's gonna be on the west elevation. There's a new box addition on the site, and that's where those RRUs will be placed. So nothing gonna change with the antennas.
Okay, so, all right. So that box is not an antenna. It's a ancillary equipment to support the antenna?
Correct. So they already had them inside, but I think because of some problems, like they were getting so hot or heat inside of the steeple, they are trying to remove them outside. And Eric Lenz, he's the applicant, he can explain the reason for moving them outside of the steeple.
Perfect, okay. And then that's the only physical change to the exterior that's being proposed today.
And also the chain link cover over the equipment area. They are adding a chain link.
Over the top of the concrete block wall, I see that, okay.
Yes.
does it increase the height, or does it go further and just provide, how do I call it, a chain
It
link
will
roof?
increase little bit. It will increase the height of it. It's gonna increase the height of this area a little bit. Few inches, I think is 3, maybe 3. Eric can say how many feet, maybe 1 or 2 feet. It will go above the equipment area.
I see. Okay. All right. Thank you for those clarifications. And again, this was noticed and no one requested a public hearing prior to this meeting.
Yeah, there was no public hearing request for this item.
Okay, thank you. All right, recording secretary, if the applicant wishes to comment further or add more information, I do have a question that has been raised. So why don't, if applicant, you could raise your hand and be recognized.
Go ahead, we'll hear you, Mr. Lenz.
Good morning, Mr. Gustafson. Thanks, Shikali, for a great presentation. I don't have anything additional to really add at this moment. I'm here to really answer any questions, and it sounds like you have one. Maybe, yeah, just to clarify, that came up, the chain link fence on top of the existing equipment compound, it'll be just about a foot or so taller. There's a piece of equipment that, if you see on the existing elevation, it kind of pokes up a little bit. Just want to make sure that that chain link fence covers that and gives enough clearance headroom. So it's just basically a lid on top of a box is really what it is, to sort of keep people from jumping in there. And then the radio unit, so Mr. Colley was accurate in describing the relocation. The whole point of this project, this application, is it's called an RRU cooling project because RRUs are overheating inside that steeple. And so in order to prevent that, removing them and putting them on the outside, but then also screening them within a box that would be painted and textured to match that existing building, similar to what they did to the steeple. That's sort of the main drive of this application, this request. But I'm more than welcome to ask me any questions, and I'll do my best to answer.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. So my first question is about the location of the box on the most visible corner of the building, which is facing the west and north there on that same corner. Is there any reason why that box couldn't be placed on the south and east corner where it might be shielded from view?
Yeah, so let me get to my elevations here. So that portion was selected because it's, I believe that wall, I'm trying to look at, here, let me go to a different elevation here. So the south section, I believe the facade is similar. Not quite sure exactly why that was chosen over the other. It could depend upon the access and how power enters up into that steeple. And power needs to be supplied to these radio units. And so that's my sort of best estimate of why they selected that side. Of course, the would be the east, I guess it'd be the east side of that. The roof pitch comes up too high right there, so they wouldn't fit. So the way the power would run into, is my guess, is why they're on that side of the wall, because that's where that source is, versus the other side where they would have to, wherever that power comes up from the bottom into that steeple, would have to reroute it.
Can you confirm that? Is there a way to confirm that? Because this is all about aesthetics and such. It's a big difference.
Yeah, I could, if you want to give me, do you want me to, I could text somebody real quick.
Great, I appreciate that. And then
Yeah, give me,
while you're
Go ahead.
doing that, I'll just state the concern I have about the chain link on top of the existing enclosure, and see if there's a remedy here. I understand the need for screening and security for the additional height, but I question the materials. Why could not the, is that a CMU wall right now? Why could not one or two more courses be placed on top of that wall and have the same material? You'd have to repaint the wall to match, but it wouldn't look as an afterthought or add-on with chain link on top. Furthermore, just the aesthetics of chain link it's not at all complimentary here. You know, I think totally agreed that the height is needed, but I'm just questioning the means to do so.
Okay, I'll try to get an answer to both of those questions here. Give me 1 second.
And again, is that chain link, literally it forms a cap over the top? I've not seen that before.
Yeah, the chain link is formed as it's a cap over the top of it just to prevent, you know, people from climbing in.
Huh.
It's pretty common. You see that a lot now, especially in urban areas. These walls, the walls aren't very tall. They're easily scalable. There's a lot of dangerous equipment inside there. Somebody, you know, jumps over the wall. There's, you know, transformers. There's batteries. There's things that of that nature. So just preventing anybody from deciding they want to hop over that.
Well, we'll take a moment to allow you to get a response. And I am looking here. We have a couple of guests and what appears to be a city staff person in attendance. I would invite the guests to raise their hand now as an indication, or by chat if they wish to comment on this matter, if they are here as a member of the public who want to comment, or if they are part of the development team. Could you please indicate if you're a public member by raising your hand or by chatting? So I'm seeing that the two additional, and maybe Mr. Lenz, you can confirm that the other people who are on this call are part of your project team.
Yeah, I'm on the line with one right now. It might just take a few seconds. All right, this is Eric. I got a response back.
Thank you.
All right, so regarding the box with the RRU units is locating them on that side, so they are further away from the sun, so they don't have the direct sun on it. Was this the preferred location?
Okay. Is it a preferred location or a required location for the operation of those units? And recording secretary, have you granted or do you continue to allow Eric, Mr. Lenz, to have audio? I see his microphone's cut off.
Yeah, once he's unmuted, he can control his own muting settings, and then he won't have to
Okay,
answer a prompt from me every time.
thank you.
Yeah, we don't see a huge reason why it couldn't be relocated to the other side.
Thank you. I think that's a real benefit to the public view of this important community building. So I would, if we can make a friendly amendment to the resolution that the, how do you term that? The RF unit or
The RR unit?
the RR unit be located on the south facing elevation of the church tower or steeple at its base. Now turning to the cyclone fence and the need to have a complete enclosure, I guess if that enclosure were built today, would it be built as a shed or an accessory building with a proper roof on it?
This the CMU wall is a pretty standard design like that. The cabinets are the Verizon's equipment cabinets are outdoor equipment, so they're self-contained. That type of enclosure it's fairly typical. And it also really depends upon locations too. But yeah, having a CM wall enclosure around the equipment is a pretty typical. I've seen several instances where later on a chain link fence has been added on top if they've had issues.
Have there been issues at this location?
At this particular location, I'm not aware of that. Do you know if there's been any issues with the landlords had with people scaling to that wall, and that's the reason why we're putting the chain link lid? Yeah, typically that's the only reason Verizon would even do that is if it came from the landlord. If there has been issues.
But we don't know if that's the case here.
It typically is the case.
So with my concern is we don't, I think it's important for the overall city design guidelines to create the built environment that reinforces the character and quality of the neighborhood and the areas in which it's built, and enclosures are recognized as necessary in many instances, and certainly for this type of valuable equipment that might also be hazardous if people were to trespass. But to create enclosures that begin to kind of being compatible with the character of the area. In an industrial area, it's less of a concern, but this is a prominent street location within an area immediately adjacent to downtown. And if I recall the street itself, I don't have a map in front of me, but I can have one quickly. Maybe the project planner can tell me, is that off of, is that a corner with two
Courtside Village is located, is in the area of the Courtside Village.
Okay, let me bear with me one moment when I'm going to pull up the plan. I see. Okay. Yeah, it's on a corner with one arterial, Sebastopol Avenue, and then a local street. I think I as zoning administrator, I'm always striving to accomplish a balance between private property owner needs and community interest. And of course, we want well-functioning telecommunications throughout the city, and this helps to provide that service, fulfill that need. But it must be done in a way that doesn't degrade or harm the visual character of the area. So I don't like the solution of cyclone fencing on a site like this. And I just want to explore with you now, were there other alternatives sought to try to modify that existing enclosure in a way that would continue the use of the same material, and accomplish the need for your client, I presume, Verizon, to protect its equipment from trespass and damage.
Yeah, so I did get confirmation that the landlord requested the chain link, the lid on top of that wall because of homeless. So that request directly came from them. Also, if the concern of that lid is of the equipment area, if an alternative was to add enough blocking material on top of that, and then go across with a chain link from there, that's something that could be done as well.
I think that solution would allow the one or two additional courses of CMU to almost create like a small parapet. So from somebody standing on the ground, either driving or standing, that chain link would disappear, and all you would see would be a continuous wall. I think that's a dramatic improvement. It doesn't send an awkward signal of exclusion that cyclone fencing would, and certainly if it's not seen, but can function to provide people from coming in from the top, that fulfills the applicant's needs. So if that's acceptable, again, I think by moving the array to the backside, away from the arterial public view from the streets, and then eliminating from view the cyclone fence. When this gets completed, and only a very sharp eye would notice any change here to the existing development. And that to me is a major win. That would be compatible and fulfill the superior design intent of the design review guidelines that apply here. Let me look at the resolution momentarily here. Again, bear with me as I pull it up.
Andy, I have it. If you want to try, I don't know if you'll have better luck seeing my screen.
I have it here. I'm looking at
Okay.
it. Yeah, design review. So these matters we've been discussing are really at the core of supporting the findings to approve. And so I would like at this point, unless you have any other comments, if these two changes are acceptable, I would want to now at this point open this matter for public comment. I don't see anybody in attendance that is a member of the public. I assume the two other parties are part of your project team. But in any event, I am now opening this matter to the public for comment. All right, we'll see no raised hands. So I'll close the public meeting and return to this discussion. Thank you for fact-finding for me, Mr. Lenz, about the proposal and working with your team to agree that it would be acceptable to shift the RR unit to the south side of that tower and to increase the height of the CMU, and so that the installed chain link cap on that equipment enclosure would be screened from view. I think that really does make a superior project. We will prepare modification to the resolution. It'll be a modification or new condition number 6, which will be drafted to essentially say, prior to submitting the building permit application, the project shall be revised to relocate the RR units to the south side of the tower, and the equipment enclosure shall be revised to increase the height of the CMU wall, and so that the placement of the chain link roof will not be visible from the street, subject to the project planner's approval. What that means is the plans that are prepared for building permit approval would have these two changes in place, and the project planner will confirm the submitted plan set has put those in place. So with that, I want to say that this, I will say this project is approved subject to those modifications, and any appeal, should one be filed, is due at the end of the business day, July 27th, 2020. So that concludes our zoning administrator meeting of July 16th, 2020. I appreciate all of you for attending this virtual meeting. And at this point, recording secretary, you can stop recording. Thank you.